What's going on, guys? Steve here from 24 Games, and I asked you, do you want like a tutorial for Place Everywhere? And you said. So now we're here, we're making a tutorial on Place Everywhere, which I believe is probably the best mod for Fallout 4 if you're into the building element. This mod is amazing, and I'm going to show you why it's amazing right now. So the first thing we're going to get to is the toggling buttons on the keyboard. So the first button, if we kind of place down an item here and we snap them together, which can be annoying sometimes. But yeah, sometimes you want to place an item kind of diagonal, really close, but obviously the game won't allow you. So if you hit F1 on the keyboard and you look up in the top left hand corner of the screen, it will basically tell you every time you toggle stuff on and off or you do something, it says up in the top left hand corner, so you know exactly what's going on. But now it's no longer going to snap together, so we can kind of place it where we want, kind of next to it. But the annoying thing is, if you see, it didn't line up quite level enough. It's pretty close, but it's not enough. So another thing we can do as well is if we hit F2, we can turn off surface snapping. So this basically allows us to line up however we want without it snapping to the ground when you get too close. And I'm not even going to line this up very well. It's pretty good, it's pretty close, not perfect, but it's pretty close. Another thing as well, if you're trying to like line stuff up, if you can see I have a gap there, but when it's got the outline, you can't really see that gap properly. So if we hit F4, we got to look away from the item as well to actually make this work. It turns off the outline. So as you can see, we can pretty much line this up perfectly without getting distracted by that line. But like I said, you need to turn away from the item. So if I hit F4 now, the outline's still on it, and it only kind of turns off when I look away and look back. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is the F5 key, and if you look up in the top corner, it turns the workshop timing off. So you might have come across this, I've come across this problem so many times when you're trying to build on the edge of something like this, and obviously if you step out, it gives you like so many seconds, and then all of a sudden it kicks you out of workshop mode, which is a bit annoying. But with the F5 key, we can basically stay out here and we can kind of build as much as we want while standing outside, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool, and it's a very helpful kind of aspect and feature of this mod. So if we turn back on the outline itself, we're going to move on to the next part of this mod, which is found on the number pad on your keyboard. So hopefully you guys have a number pad on your keyboard, otherwise this might be a little bit difficult. So obviously make sure you have your number pad key turned on, so your number pad actually is working and functional. And then we're going to look at a few keys. So normally people will have the arrow keys kind of printed on the buttons, but some number pads I've noticed don't actually have these, so I'll put them up on the screen so you can see what I'm doing. So with the arrow key, so you have the up, left, right and down, of course, you can actually move an object kind of up, right, left, down, and this kind of works depending on where you're standing as well. So if I press like right and left, it's moving it left and right depending where I'm standing, and of course up and down, of course. But as you can see, it's like vibrating and looking weird. I think Place Everywhere calls this tremor. But if we hit the 5 on the number pad, it turns it off. So that's a cool little feature as well. So moving on, we're going to get to scaling. So the 3 and the 1 is what controls scaling on a number pad. So obviously 3 makes stuff bigger, 1 makes them smaller, and the delete or the dot key on the number pad will reset it to its normal size. But 2 more keys are involved with this. We got the page down and page up. I can't use the page up button for the simple fact that it's my record button, so it'll stop my recording if I hit that, but I can use the page down button. These basically change the stepping scale for making stuff bigger and smaller, and as you can see, we go from 50% all the way down to 1%, so we can really make kind of fine adjustments, but also we can just go overboard and just make stuff massive. Or do the opposite thing and make them really tiny. So that's a really cool thing as well. Another thing I forgot to mention with this though, you can't use these while it's selected like this. You can hear that's me hitting the arrow keys on a Numpad. It's not working. But obviously if I just highlight it, it works. This is how Place Everywhere kind of works when moving items and doing whatnot with them. You have to highlight them and not actually select them. Another cool feature as well when it comes to moving stuff around and getting them into position and getting them into kind of positions you can't normally get them in. That kind of sounds a little bit weird, but yeah, using the right and left buttons on your mouse, obviously highlighting it again, we can rotate. And you're like, well, I can rotate stuff anyway because this is just rotating around. But if we actually hit the control button on our keyboard, as you can see, it changed the axis. So now we can rotate them like this, and we can also rotate them like this, and still rotate them like this. There's kind of 3 different axes, obviously Y, X, and Z. But yeah, and that's kind of a cool little thing. To obviously rotate stuff and get into position. It's kind of weird. Oh, it's the water. Okay, kind of glitching in there. It does move a little bit weird when you move it kind of around. So the best way to move this is to use the other Numpad features to move it into position like this, because it doesn't actually make it rotate or change anywhere. So kind of get it to the angle you want and then just use them to kind of nudge it in. But you might have noticed it kind of rotates it quite a lot. If we actually use the plus and minus keys on the Numpad again, we can actually change it to go even kind of slower. But we can even go all the way down to 0.1. And if we actually get pretty close in here, we can really make fine adjustments to get it perfectly lined up to how we want it. So that's pretty cool. Obviously plus hires it and makes it go faster, and minus kind of brings it down. So that's obviously a really cool feature. And the last feature I'm going to look at in this mod, because I'm just looking at the things that I really use and I think are useful, and it's more to this mod, but I really use it and it's a little bit more complicated than most things. And as you can see in this floating motorbike over there, that was a failed attempt earlier. But yeah, we got a can over here, and I'm pretty sure you've already turned the physics off on this can. Yes, I have. You can see you can't even knock this can over, so you can like place it like on here, and you're like, well, how do you do that? Are you using OC Decorator? Pretty sure it's called. No, I'm not. Basically how I'm getting this to work is the home and the end key on your keyboard, which should be to the left hand side of your Numpad and above your arrows. The end key turns physics off, and the home key turns them back on again. So obviously this is how the can would normally be, and you can like bang it around, which can get annoying if you want items perfectly placed in like if you want it on a table, or you want it like on a banister like I had it over here. It can be a bit annoying because obviously NPCs and stuff will kind of knock it off and it'll go flying. But if you hit the end key, you can turn physics off, and it just becomes like OC Decorator, where you can't actually move an object. This does work with vehicles as well, even though these vehicles for some reason haven't got physics anyway. Oh, I thought it worked then, but it was me just grabbing it again. But yeah, it does work with vehicles as well. I'm not too sure if it works with not allowing vehicles to explode, because I know some mods add double versions of cars, and that's how I built walls and stuff in the past. Some people asked about that. Basically on some mods they have double versions of cars. One of them is like the kind of standard car with all the physics and it explodes, and the other version is the kind of no physics based vehicle, which is just a solid object and it can't blow up. And that's basically how I tackled my walls at Red Rocket. So yeah guys, thanks a lot for watching. If there's anything else you want me to kind of look at and kind of answer, obviously hit me up in the comment section. And well, thanks for watching guys, and if obviously you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and if there's any other mods you want me to look at, especially mods like this where you have to know a little bit more information to kind of get to grips with it, kind of hit me up. Obviously normal mods where it's just items, you know, you just kind of place them down. That's what you do. With stuff like this, you kind of need to know a little bit more. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Hit that like button, subscribe, and goodbye.